Welcome to another video log for my upcoming book, The Four Global Truths. My name is Jaron Durda. In my previous vlog I talked about suffering and how that word is the usual translation of the Pali word dukkha, which can apply to very painful forms of physical suffering, but also to very subtle forms of psychological suffering, including the kind that we often feel when we're having a wonderful time, a peak experience, and we feel like we really need to hold on to that moment, and that, according to the Buddha, is a form of suffering. In this vlog I want to talk a little bit about the truth of what I would call, or the reality of what I would call global suffering. And I write about this in my book in its various aspects, including climate change, which everybody is familiar with, mass extinction of species, which we're in the midst of now, the sixth one on planet Earth in its 4.5 billion year history, being caused by human beings in particular. And the extinction rate is happening anywhere from 100 to 1,000 times faster than the normal extinction rate on Earth. I talk about shrinking forests and expanding deserts, how desertification and deforestation are causing problems not just in terms of global food supply, but also how they're contributing to global warming. Air and water pollution, particularly the ocean pollution, which is causing a dramatic decline in the fish population and collapse of the world's fisheries. Radioactive and electromagnetic pollution, such as we get from our cell phones and computers and so forth, and how it may be more subtle, but it's also working on a more subtle plane, and it's maybe affecting things like our DNA, which is arguably one of the most precious resources in the universe. Overpopulation, how all of these ecological crises are being driven by overpopulation, and particularly how those of us in affluent countries consume way more than our share globally, and also more than the planet can sustain. In fact, since 1984, we've been living off of our ecological credit card. We've been in ecological debt. I also talk about economic disparity and how the gap between rich and poor is growing, and how that's causing violence in various spheres. Talk about how dwindling water and oil, how these things will affect the human population in the years to come, how our wars might be fought in the future, not just over oil, but over water and air, who knows what other resources, and how sprawl and urbanization are contributing to some of these problems, particularly urbanization, the idea that half of us now, as of 2008, live in cities, half of the human species. 100 years ago, by contrast, only 10% of us lived in cities. So rather than go into all the details, I mentioned some of them, and a lot of them are in the book. I want to leave you with a quotation by Joanna Macy, who, like me, would advocate that not only do these truths and these the reality of global suffering, not only does that need to we need to know that cognitively, but we need to know it in our hearts, and we need to let that inform our very way of being and our way of acting, because once that information enters our hearts, that's where the real alchemical change happens, and that's where the change that we'll see externally in the world, how it will be facilitated. So Joanna writes, "With isolated exceptions, every generation prior to ours has lived with the assumption that other generations would follow, that the work of our hands and heads and hearts could live on through those who came after us, walking the same earth, beneath the same sky. Now we have lost the certainty that there will be a future for humans. I believe that this loss, felt at some level of consciousness by everyone, regardless of political orientation, is the pivotal psychological reality of our time." So I hope that you will allow these truths, even just going over them very quickly, allow them to sink into you. And I also hope that you will keep in mind that this is only the first of the four global truths, that there are other truths to come, and I will be talking about them in future vlogs. And I hope you will stay tuned. I hope you're having, thank you for your kind attention, and I hope you have a great day.